Hey guys, we're live with Brian Stelfreeze from Georgia. We got Klaus, Janson in New York City, Cully, Hamner in Atlanta, Brian's desk, which is in Atlanta as well, and we're still waiting on Dave and Andrew to come in. So,
hey Jason.
Yep.
I'm not in Atlanta.
In Austin, sorry. You're in Austin. You used
Atlanta,
to be
Austin, same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So, want to welcome Brian. He's our special guest today, hanging out and drawing.
I'm feeling special.
You are special. We're all special. So thanks for coming in, guys, and hanging out with us.
I'd like some introductory music from me, please.
You're such a diva. What is?
I can beat.
What are these last minute demands on the air of Klaus?
I want some Lizzo. I want some Lizzo, please.
Lizzo.
Nice.
I don't know if I can afford that at the moment.
That's not the question. He wants it, okay?
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
We'll get on it. So I guess the guys are going to be drawing. Let's see, Brian, is that 7 that you're going to be working on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of jumping back and forth. There's a Captain America piece for this guy in France that I want to do. So I'm kind of caught between maybe doing that and this. So I might jump back and forth, or whichever one I get into the groove of doing, I'm just going to jump on.
All right, very cool. Klaus, I think you're working on a Joker. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to upgrade Klaus's gear soon. And Cully, what are you doing?
Today I am doing a Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. All right.
Nice.
Which one?
The Carol Danvers Captain Marvel.
Let's take
Oh, very good.
Whom I've never drawn before.
What?
I've never drawn her before.
How can you be around for this long and not draw her?
You know, there are many things that I've not experienced, Brian. I'm trying to get them all in the last half of my life. And I say half optimistically, you understand.
It's like these are the days of COVID. Live your dreams.
Hey guys, hey Jordan, Kevin, Adam, all the guys that just joined, Ben, Robert, Riley's here in Florida.
Oh, Robert. Dr. Bob is in the house.
How you guys doing today? What is Jason drawing? That's a good question. I'm going to be drawing,
Gasps.
Yeah, blood. I'm going to be drawing blood later. Let's see. Robert says, hey, Brian.
Hey, what up? Yeah, Robert and I, we're going to be getting together in these days of COVID. I don't know when, but we should be getting together for lunch or dinner sometime.
In Florida? You going to go visit him in Florida?
Yeah. Or he's going to come up this way.
Okay, let's if you guys have any questions, just pop them in there and we'll ask the guys. Hopefully they're good questions, because goddamn it, I don't like shitty questions. So.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Klaus.
Jason has to put something in the swear jar.
What are you serving, Jason? What are you serving for lunch?
Wasn't any good. I had matzah, leftover matzah. Yeah.
And it wasn't good?
That's crap.
No, it wasn't a good lunch. It was something quick. Something quick and easy. Boy. All right, so hopefully Dave and Andrew will get here in a little bit. We'll see where they are at. But in the meantime, let's, I don't know, watch you guys draw.
So, Brian, how is it working at home?
Yeah.
Murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like normally I'm a hermit, but this is being a hermit not by my choice,
Yeah.
and that's really inconvenient. Like normally I just kind of walk into the studio every day, and it's actually a nice, relaxing walk. But with this, it's just like you can't do anything. You're locked down.
Yeah. I mean, do you get outside at all? I mean, do you go for walks or anything, or?
Huh? Yeah, I try to. It's just a little bit tougher when you got to watch out for people and all that stuff.
And social distance.
Yeah.
Well, I sent you some masks yesterday. So everyone should have some masks in the next day or two.
But one thing that is good is because I live in Georgia, social distancing is like kind of a choice now.
Yeah. So first time Georgia's ever had choice.
Yes, it is.
Suddenly Georgia's pro-choice.
That was a good one, Cully.
Thank you, Klaus. I got the Klaus seal of approval.
You've been waiting.
Klaus, what are you drawing?
That's a Joker, right, Klaus? Is that your drawing?
I hope so.
We'll know soon.
He reserves the right to change.
Right. What Klaus is saying is that, when he starts a drawing, it's the equivalent of throwing himself down the stairs. And hopefully he lands on his feet.
That is so
Hey,
true.
Pam's in the stream, Klaus.
Hey.
How's MJ, Pam? Is he doing
What'd
all
you say, Jay?
right? MJ and Pam are here.
Michael's here?
Well, Pam is. So I'm assuming MJ is around.
Brian, who are you drawing?
7. Oh, I'm sorry, 11.
7? Did I say 7 before?
I don't know. I always get the two confused.
I mean, eventually, she was originally 7, right? And then she became 11. As we all do. I don't know.
Is the robot? What's the robot's name? Was that 7?
Which robot?
With Steve Gutenberg back in the 80s? What was that robot that?
No, that's Johnny 5, isn't it?
Johnny 5? All the numbers. There's too many numbers. I can't keep track. How was everyone else's week?
It's funny. I'm slowly getting more productive. The first couple of weeks of this, I was kind of like all over the place.
Right.
But I hate to say it, I'm slowly getting used to this kind of new normal that we have right now. So.
Yeah, me too. I haven't been very productive though, which is not so good.
Yeah.
How about you, Brian? You've been able to?
Well, on the occasion when I can get past the TV, I'm pretty productive. But the TV is very gravitational.
For me, it's like chores. It's like, stuff around the house to do. It's like, oh, you know what? That laundry needs to be done.
Yeah, for some reason, everything that needs to be done at home seems really convenient.
You've got a question from Ben DeFeo, Cully.
Uh-oh.
How does Cully draw with those tiny fingers?
How do you think with that tiny brain?
Gosh, Klaus, here's a good question for you. How long have you had that drawing board for? Let's see if you can hear us. Klaus?
Klaus chooses not to answer.
Wow, that thing is seasoned.
Yeah. know, right?
Yeah, that looks like there's a little bit of Dark Knight still on that board.
It's got to be at least a year old, right?
You talking to me?
Yeah, the question was, how long have you had your drawing board for? Klaus? Klaus? Test? No? We'll come back to you then. These are either commissions or I guess we're just doing this one for fun, right, Cully?
This one, yeah. This is not a commission.
And Brian, this is for someone in France, yeah? You said?
No, the Captain America that I have to do, which I may or may not work on. That's for the French.
Okay. Is this one available through Robert?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. Let's see. Kenneth is asking you, Brian, what are you watching?
What am I watching? I'm watching these guys on a computer screen.
I think that was maybe was it a Netflix reference or a?
Yeah. In general, I went back just recently and watched the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo Millennium series from Sweden, and that was some good stuff. It's some classic Nomi Rapace.
I haven't seen that.
What about the rest of you guys? What are you watching? Jason?
I just finished Ozarks.
I have not watched that.
That is
I've been
amazing.
watching that.
That's a great one. That needs to be watched whenever you can. Give me 1 second. I think Dave is trying to get in. So let's.
I have.
People are comparing Ozark to Breaking Bad.
What, they're comparing Ozark to Breaking Bad? Well,
Yeah,
man, I should
yeah.
watch it then.
That would be a sweet comparison.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
I
But,
have
yeah.
not been watching much of anything. I've been on a podcast kick.
I'm trying to understand Westworld.
Yeah, Elisa she watches that and she complains about it constantly and continues
You know,
to watch
in
it.
order to understand Westworld, I have to go to YouTube videos where they explain it to me. It's so funny.
Any of you guys get a chance to see Rambo Home Alone?
You know, I watched that on a plane.
Rambo Home.
I watched that on a plane coming back from Chicago. You know, the one con that seems to be happening this year. And wow, that was bad.
Yes, it was.
I mean, it was so egregiously, horribly bad. And this is Brian. I remember you and I saw John Rambo back like 10 years ago when that came out.
Yeah.
And I remember we loved it. We were like, this is so, I mean, it was so kind of like sort of like schlocky, kind of, you know, bloody 80s movie good, you know?
Yeah.
And we had such a good time. And then I watched this one and it was just bad and racist and horrible and just a bad movie. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not. That is dead accurate.
In the meantime, wait, hold on. Sorry. Dave Janson just joined the stream.
Hey, Dave.
Dave's here. Is your audio working, Dave?
You what?
Oh, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's too damn early for this shit.
$1 in the swear jar.
Oh man.
How you doing, Dave? How's
What
your
time
week?
is it there?
I feel a little hungover as well.
You went out?
Over.
No, I stayed in. Sometimes
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna drink.
Let's see. There are some questions here. Brian, who are your influences? How did you develop your distinctive and very cool style? From John.
My influences are for illustration. A lot of the early American guys like J.C. Leyendecker, Norman Rockwell, Meade Schaefer, just a whole stack of dead guys. And Drew Struzan kind of weighs heavily on me as well. But for comics, my chief influence would actually be Walt Simonson. But there's some Steranko in there. I think where a lot of my graphics come from is Jim Steranko. But I'm kind of a knockaround guy. I mean, I get a lot of storytelling from.
Brian, what did you take from Steranko and Simonson?
Simonson has got this boldness, this just really unapologetic kind of graphic boldness that I really got into when I was younger, and it was kind of cool because I was a huge fan of both Simonson and Gil Kane, and the thing that I think ties them together is just that bold graphic approach to drawing. I mean, it's a kind of a combination of naturalistic but expressionism at the same time. And of course, like Steranko, there's just this graphic cool that guy has.
Yeah, I agree with that. Steranko was just awesomely cool. I have to say. I was looking at his stuff recently. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's just totally relentless.
I think he's one of those guys who's had a relatively short career, but a massive influence. I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. I mean, you know, his influence. I mean, his shadow is long. You know, it's like.
Wait, did you just call Steranko short?
That's another show.
Yeah, I do think that's kind of interesting how he really didn't do a lot of books, but he was just the stuff that he did was really influential.
We talking about Steranko?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, what's Dave working on?
Dave.
What?
The hardest character to draw, I don't know, for me.
What character?
Mysterio. It ain't easy.
Hey, Dave, would you mind just taking the cuss word out of your title so I can focus in on you? Otherwise,
I gotta stop and we'll come back then.
Because otherwise I can't focus in on you. They might.
All right.
Okay, now we can talk about Dave.
Can't take Dave anywhere.
You can take Dave anywhere. Exactly. Hey, Goran, how are you? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. MJ's now here, so we can get started. Hey, MJ.
Hey.
Let's see.
Actually, I have a question for Klaus.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually saw some of Frank Miller's pencils from The Dark Knight Returns. And did you just jump on that with ink, or were there occasions where you had to kind of finish things before jumping in there with the inks?
I don't remember finishing anything in pencil. I think so. I think the answer is I just jumped on it. Yeah.
Crazy.
Why do you think they were loose or something?
Not do I think they were loose. they were loose.
Oh.
That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
The only thing I did with his pencils was that I switched from pen to brush and back to pen and brush, so I alternated. I think that helped me a little bit. But people say the same thing about John Jr.'s pencils, that they're really loose when they see them. Yeah, I just jump on it. Yeah, I think I prefer loose.
Hey, Brian, we have a question from Chris Uminga asking what brand of watercolor do you use?
I'm kind of a Frankenstein on that. I use a little bit of everything. I mean, I have my tin here, and it's a schminky tin, but the actual, and I bought this like probably 30, 40 years ago, but all the colors in here, I think maybe 2 of them or 3 of them remain being schminky, but most of them are Holbein. Some are Winsor Newton. This blue comes from a company called Kremer in New York, and it's just various sort of things. And
Brian, I thought schminky was a word you just made up.
Schminky?
It may be.
Yeah. It may be one of those high insults like gaijin.
Here's a good question from Ben DeFeo. Cully, Brian, and Dave were all studio mates. What is something you took from each other, style or work habit wise?
Well, I will tell you that the thing that I took from Cully is looking at an entire page as a piece of art. The first time I kind of looked over Cully's shoulder, and he was laying out the perspective for an entire page, and just kind of without any of the art in place, just a perspective actually made a really cool design. And I think a lot of times before that, I was making too much consideration towards the individual panels. So that's the thing that I got from Cully. And the thing that I got from Dave is just a general go for itness. That's one of the things that I thought was so awesome about Dave is he would do tech, but it would be just this wet, sort of spilling, oozing tech, and it sort of changed my mind on, okay, tech doesn't have to be hard right angles and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be printed circuit boards.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, that's because I didn't know any better.
But you know what? Don't you think that like a lot of the things that make our work kind of what it is because we start out not knowing anybody or any better, and it becomes it kind of becomes what you do, and it's sort of the foundation of what you're known for in some ways.
Oh yeah, I think I'm definitely, my style comes from my inability to copy other people.
Yeah, and I think that like it comes from a lot of your style comes from your compensation of the things that you don't do well, and your magnification of the things that you do well, and I mean, it's funny because like I hear the term gaijin style thrown around from time to time, and I just never been able to see it. I mean, in terms of, I don't think any of us had none of us looked alike. I mean, I don't, you had Adam at one end of the spectrum, and I think Brian at the other end of the spectrum, and we were kind of all at different points on that spectrum, but I don't think any of us, we might have had the same kind of like kind of a stylistic ethic, maybe, but I don't think any of us looked alike.
No, I think it came from the clean style of rendering.
I mean, there's that, but I mean, how do you explain Brian, or how do you explain Adam?
Well, even Adam he had a lot cleaner style than like the image style.
Yeah.
I mean, it was economy of line, I think, more than
well, we were kind of the antithesis of that. I'll agree.
Yeah.
We were kind of known for being the antithesis of that.
Well, I also think, and pardon me, but I think it was the blackness that we brought to things. I think none of us were afraid of like just pushing some darks, just really, and I think that's the thing that separated, the Gaijin style, or what became known as the East Coast style.
Well, and if you're talking about things that we got from each other, it's like what I got from Brian was an appreciation of contrast and an appreciation of sort of composing blacks, and from Dave, I got an appreciation of texture and kind of doing things within those blacks, and maybe that came along a lot later. But it just sort of took a while to kind of like sort of bubble up in my stuff, but I think that's kind of where that came from.
I think the other thing about Gaijin style was how late we were always, on deadlines. I think that was
Yeah, that's the legend.
Hey, Laura. Laura Martin's here. She says to say hello.
Woo!
Hey, Laura.
JJ's here.
We said the word Gaijin and Laura appeared.
Word pops up. That's all you got to do. Here's a good question. Who picked the name Gaijin and why?
I think that originally came from there's a friend of Joe Phillips that used to call Joe Gaijin Joe, and we all thought that was kind of funny. So it sort of melded into a joke of what we would call each other. So I was Gaijin Brian, Cully was Gaijin Cully, and that kind of existed or pre-existed the studio. And then when we were getting to the point where we're like putting together the studio, we're like, okay, well, what are we going to call it? And since we were calling each other Gaijin anyways, it kind of like just sort of fit.
Good thing you guys didn't like Giacomo.
It would have been Giacomo Studios.
Here's the question.
I don't think anyone took into consideration just how offensive the word was at the time.
There's a question from Jordan. This is for everyone. What is your favorite medium to work in? Brian, you want to go first?
My favorite medium to work in is anytime I see someone else doing something awesome in a medium, I want to work in that medium. So I kind of jump around. I'll do a little bit of everything, but I think the things that I've settled into that are most kind of my go-to medium is pen and ink for comics. Mm-hmm. But when I'm doing illustration, I've kind of got a combination of watercolor and fluid acrylics that I like.
Hey, Klaus, how about you? Did you hear the question?
No, I can't. I basically can't hear anybody.
The question was,
what was the question?
What's your favorite medium to work in?
If I heard the question right, I think it's just ink, and ink, black ink.
Black ink.
And then right underneath it, the Cintiq. I really like working digitally.
Well, not many people know that you're also a colorist. You started out as a colorist years ago too, right? You colored all the Daredevil issues that you worked on with Frank.
I did not all of them, but the last year I did, and I colored a lot of the stuff that I inked over Sal Buscema and over John Buscema. Yeah, I really enjoyed coloring. That was a lot of fun.
Badass, man.
Cully, how about you? What's your favorite medium?
I mean, I'm somewhat like Klaus in that I enjoy I'm most comfortable probably in ink. I like markers. I like Copic markers a lot. I am so out of practice with color that it's something that I'm going to try to use this time that we've got at home to try to be a little bit more proactive with that. But it's been so long since I've really done any real work with color.
Good too.
I don't
Are you
recommend
coloring with
using
watercolor
Proactive.
or digitally colored?
What? What was that, Dave?
Klaus,
I don't recommend using Proactive. It's not a good medium.
sorry. Klaus, did you have a question for Cully? No, he's having a little technical issue. We'll try to get back there. Dave, what's your favorite medium?
I hate them all. They all fight me every day. They can all go to hell. I'm serious. It's like nothing ever comes easy. It drives me nuts. Nothing ever works the way I want it to work.
I mean, but do most of you guys feel like it's a challenge when you're creating new art? Does it ever come easy to you?
No.
Anyone?
No.
Rarely.
Yes.
Brian, yeah. It's easy stuff.
Well, I mean, it's just fun. I love exploring stuff.
I think fun is a different issue than easy, though. I mean, sometimes the challenge can be fun, but I mean, I don't know that anything actually ever is like sort of, hey, that was easy. I didn't even have to try. That kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. If that's the description of easy, then yes, nothing comes easy.
I mean, if they ever create a undo button for actual physical medium, I'll like it a lot better.
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me about doing stuff digital is when I work digital for a long period of time, and then I go back to working on paper, it freaks me out.
Does it take you a while to get back into the groove?
Oh yeah, because having that undo is just so nice.
Ryan, what percentage of your sequential stuff is digital?
100.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not good.
Crazy and just unnecessary.
Well, I think when I'm working digitally, I have a bad habit of like just overdoing it. If I'm not working digitally, if I'm working on paper, I tend to want to do art. But if I'm working digitally, it doesn't feel like art. So I end up being a lot more sparse digitally.
Okay, let's see. Klaus got bumped here. Let's see if we can get him back in.
Poor Klaus.
Poor Klaus. We got to get him some good gear. It's coming.
Well, what percentage of the stuff that Dave does, what percentage of that stuff is digital? Do you primarily work on digital, or do you still do a lot of paper stuff?
No, I mainly work on paper. The only digital I do is now coloring.
Really?
Can't draw on a weird surface yet.
Because I just assumed that out of all of us, man, you'd be the guy that would embrace digital faster than anyone.
Well, the other thing is, it sucks not having something to sell afterwards. So.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, by the way. I haven't mentioned it in a while.
Well, I'm a collector at heart myself, so it always pains me when I hear about good stuff that you can't actually hold. So.
Well, Jet Boy says, I love Dave Janson so much.
Wow.
Woo!
Me too.
We all do.
We all do indeed.
But it's a forbidden love.
Forbidden.
Yeah, where's Jet Girl?
Where's Jet Girl? Yes, exactly. Oh, I think we got Andrew coming in.
Drew?
I'll be here in a moment. Okay. There we go. Hey, Andrew. How you doing?
Doing all right.
Hey, what's up, dude?
Not much. I had to make
What's going on,
waffles
Andrew?
for the girls.
Holy moly, he's already brought the pain. Look at that. Son of a bitch.
Oh, Andrew.
Way to make us all look like chumps. Once again.
Long live the painters.
Let's see. All right,
Man, I feel good that I'm not working on that Captain America now.
Here's a question from John. Guys, when you guys first started out, what thing did you struggle to draw the most? How long did it take to develop the skill and confidence to be able to draw pretty much anything without redrawing separate elements multiple times?
Good question.
Who wants to start? Andrew, since you're first, you're last in. You want to go first?
Repeat the question.
When you guys first starting out, what thing did you struggle to draw the most? How long did it take to develop the skill and confidence to be able to draw pretty much anything without redrawing separate elements multiple times?
I still do that. Like, drawing is just a struggle I think that we're going to go through for the rest of our lives. I mean, you can get better at it, but there's always a different angle, a different point of view, and especially with hands. Like, hands continually to be a challenge.
Well, it's funny you say that. I remember the first time I commissioned Brian to do something, it had Harley Quinn's feet upside down. And I think Shelley, one of the editors at DC was there and just happened to see it and was like, that's amazing. Most people can't draw feet very well. But Brian did it not only, perfectly, but upside down and, in relation to how it's supposed to look.
Actually, the weirdest thing for me is hands and feet were never a problem for me. But what was a problem for the longest time was the connection between the head and the shoulders, all that stuff, like all this stuff in here. It's just like I couldn't figure that out when I was a kid. And I kept just kind of doing it wrong over and over and over again. And it wasn't until I just kind of decided I'm not going to draw anything else until I figure this out. And that's kind of the way I solve most of the problems that I have, is just don't draw anything else until you figure that out.
Would it be days, hours, weeks, years?
Yeah, sometimes.
I still have trouble drawing people laying down. Like if someone's like splayed out on the floor or sleeping or something like that, it always vexes me.
Is that because of the perspective or what?
I think it's because the body changes when you're in a prone position, and I think that a lot of times what people run into with drawing and they don't realize is that everything changes the body. It's, a relaxed face is different than a smiling face, and, shoulders move and everything, moves on an axis. And I think when you're laying down, just everything settles in a different way. So it's just a harder proposition for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it is kind of tough doing it to where it actually looks like the person's laying down and not drawn horizontally.
Dave, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, once again, everything is hard.
You think it's hard?
But I will add that I think that as we, through time and practice, you at least have a feel for which poses and which viewpoints of the body kind of work better for you when you're drawing.
Yeah, especially within whatever style it is that you do, you know.
All right, here's Ben's got another good question. Brian and Andrew, you are both standouts with paints in the industry. Is there any new artists that have caught your eye in traditional color? With so much digital coloring out there, do you see it as something dying out in comics?
Yeah, I think a lot of the Euro guys, are just doing some awesome stuff. I mean, like, he's not like a newcomer or anything like that, but Assad Ribic and those guys, I mean, that stuff is just blowing my mind.
I love Assad's work. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I love Greg Ticini.
Yeah, he's great.
Hey, Klaus, any new artists that you're digging?
I like Wes Craig, who does Deadly Class a lot. I like his layouts. I think Stuart Immonen is just the cat's pajamas. I think Stuart Immonen is just amazing. He blows me away. I think, let me think one more.
Oh yeah, Stewart.
Craig
Man.
Thompson.
Stewart is the holy grail. That guy's
Big
got like
Blankets
way
a
too
couple
much stuff
years
figured
ago.
out.
He's doing a book called Ginseng Root. It's amazing storytelling.
Sorry, Brian, you had said.
What's that?
Did you say something? You got,
I was saying that Stuart Eminem, he's the holy grail. I mean, he has just got comics figured out.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. I agree. He's amazing. Yeah, I hate him.
I mean, I would argue that Stewart pretty much defined what Marvel has looked like for the last 10 years or so.
Oh yeah.
But that's an interesting thought. You mean in terms of like all the guys that are doing the X-Men books right now, like Pepe Larraz?
I mean, not just those books, but I think, he definitely set a standard stylistically, I think, for the last, 8 or 10 years. Just the stuff he did was so influential, and I see a lot of people, doing kind of like stuff in that realm, like the kind of rendering and the sort of dynamics that he does, and I mean he's really the whole package. That guy, I mean, he's just really stunning.
And his women, the way he draws women, is just so elegant and graceful. Really beautiful work.
Yeah, the stuff is just.
Has anybody ever met him?
Effortless.
Yeah, I met him.
Has anyone ever met Stuart?
Yeah. Been a while.
So he's a real person, right?
Yeah, no, he's a nice guy.
Is he retired now? Is he working?
No, I think that's that was kind of like people misinterpreted what he was saying. I think he basically he just took a break, and I think he's doing isn't he doing a Kirkman book that's coming out? Or am I mistaken about that? He's doing something.
No, he's doing a book. He's doing a book for DC that is written by
Joe Hill.
Joe Hill.
Yeah, he's doing one of the Joe Hill books. Yeah.
Hey, I got a question. Is somebody using like a headphone, like a microphone? It literally sounds like somebody's chewing hard candy.
Yeah, I'm trying to isolate that. I hear it too.
I mean, but who?
I hear the crackling also.
Maybe I should be using a mic.
Yeah, you could try to plug in some headphones, Klaus. Maybe that'll. I think it's Klaus.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's like a microphone attached to a wire that's moving around, that's the problem. Because it's getting worse.
I think it's Andrew's mic.
The rest of us don't hear anything, Dave. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was happening before he even came on.
No,
Are
it's
you
Andrew.
sure are you sure you're just not crazy?
Pea stains are on. Somebody spilled something. I don't know what it was.
Do you want to let the guys know?
No.
Let us know what.
Our house is a mess, and the only person cleaning it is me.
You didn't need to tell me that. I knew.
Yeah, I know. I know. Cully, you're wise beyond words.
I try.
Cully's like my Buddha.
She was letting the pea stains came out in the living room that the dog left behind.
Right, the dog.
Well, somebody. I'm not going to name names or point fingers, but it was me.
Okay, Jason.
Sorry. Wayne says hi, Mo.
Hi, Wayne.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry. I'll go back. I'll go back to doing my job.
Go back to no, stay and hang out. Oh boy. All right.
Yeah, where's Cooper? Put Cooper on.
He follows Mo around the house wherever she goes. He goes. That's the rule.
Let's see if we can get Cooper up.
Now that you ask, Cully, now
Yeah. Up. Yeah. Really? When I'm up there, you have no problems. Cooper, come here. Come up. Yeah. Up.
I think all of us would rather talk to Cooper than Jason.
yeah, I get that a lot.
Sit.
Jesus Christ!
Up.
Just trying to kill the dog now.
I don't have anything to do with it. Come on, up.
They can see.
Wow.
Sit.
He likes to hang on my desk while we're.
That's a lot of dogs.
Sit.
Boy. He's scared off Andrew, I think. But we've got Cooper. Sorry, guys. Interrupt. Sit down. Lay down. Say hello.
I don't mind Cooper.
Cooper.
No, lay down. Oh God. Nobody. There's people on here now.
I know. But the added bonus of the dog.
There's people in here.
People in here. All right. Sorry about that. Back to the questions.
Yeah, Jason.
Do you guys follow or are inspired by any Japanese artists?
Oh yeah. Kenichi Sonoda, Matsumuni, was it not Musashi? Who's the guy that did Appleseed?
Shinichiro.
And although I don't know his name, the guy that did Blade of the Immortal, love his stuff.
I dig Terada. He's great.
Terada? Yeah.
Yeah.
John's asking, what's the best way to crack the perspective code? Can you guys recommend any specific books, videos?
No. I think most perspective books are really good after you know perspective.
Yeah.
I think there's
Honestly, the best thing for me as far as learning perspective was being in a studio.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So find a studio and hang out.
Right.
Quite easily done.
Who was the first one in Gaijin? Who's the first member that said let's do this? Let's get together.
I think initially, when we actually went to look at the the space, it was myself, my girlfriend Steen, Joe Phillips, and Carl Story. But then that was very shortly followed by Cully, kind of getting in there, and then Jason Pearson, and I think Dave, you got in there after. Oh no, Adam was in there. I think a little bit before Jason. And,
Who?
Dave got in.
Well, I was there when Adam got there, so.
I was the last to kind of physically, join the studio.
So you were the Ringo of the group.
Of that group, yeah. I mean, I came in. Everybody had already been in the space for a little while when I got there.
And how did you know about it, Cully? You were friends with Brian just on the circuit, or?
I mean, yeah, I was already friends with everybody by that point. I remember specifically going to Atlanta for just a weekend to hang out with everybody, and I remember we were all at Brian's
That
place.
was my basement studio.
Yeah, it was at your kind of your 3-story kind of townhouse that you had the basement studio in. And I remember just sort of sitting there one night, and I think you just sort of mentioned it to me, like, "Hey, we're thinking about putting a studio together," and he was just like, "You're exactly the kind of person we want in there. So like when you're ready, come on, And basically the rule was you had to have a paying gig,
Yeah.
So I had to wait till I had a paying gig.
You were living in like in Alabama or something at that point?
Yeah, I was still living in Alabama.
And actually, we broke that rule for Dave, unbeknownst to him, because he was awesome.
Well, but the rule was you had to have a monthly gig.
Yeah.
And it became, because they wanted Dave in there really bad. It became like just had to have paying work.
Yeah, because when Dave, when you first got there, you were sort of masquerading as Joe's assistant.
Sort of. I mean, I don't think I was pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. I hope you're not, saying I was pay per play, Dave.
I need to refill my water bottle. 1 second. I'll be back in just a minute.
Water is in quotes.
Water.
Jason's like, what are you talking about?
And Dr. Riley should know that every moment you don't see the brush on the page or on the palette, it's in my mouth.
That's true of everything.
Hey, it worked for Van Gogh.
Wasn't there some
when you say worked?
Wasn't there some controversy where there was some artist that was online that was saying that you're poisoning yourself if you put your brush in your mouth?
Yeah.
If you lick your brush and basically was saying that
I think
you shouldn't do that.
Yourself if you put your brush in your mouth back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
But there are safety standards now, so
Right.
Doesn't really quite work like that anymore.
I wonder if Jason had to break the seal on some fresh water.
He's making water.
1 moment.
Welcome to all tech landing.
Whoa.
Sorry about that.
What just happened?
Oh, my mic.
Let's not have that happen again.
Oh, not my microphone, my speaker.
Hey, Klaus.
Yep.
When would you say you stopped thinking of yourself as being new to comics?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, geez. I don't know how to answer that, honestly.
It's a weird question, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Maybe about 5-10 years ago. I don't know why. Like, I think right around the time I started, like, actually getting to be friends with, like, people like you, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, at that point, it's like, oh, I guess I'm not one of the young guys anymore. So I'm being accepted by, you know, people whose work I was influenced by.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, I've never been able to you know, talk to like the guys that I really admired when I was growing up. I saw Jack Kirby once at the Marvel offices, and everybody was, you know, surrounding him and talking to him, and I couldn't imagine saying anything. Or Will Eisner, you know, those people, just I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I mean, sometimes you're like, well, geez, what would I say? You know, it's.
I will say this, that this being a part of the comic book community is really everything that I've always wanted.
When you say that, when you say everything you've always wanted, you mean everything you've always wanted just in general, or everything you wanted out of comics, out of what being in comics?
Yeah, being in comics, of course, yeah. But you know, I'm so I guess grateful or more surprised. I'm more surprised that I am actually part of the comic book community.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really it's I feel like it's a gift. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I would totally agree with that. I am very thankful for it, and I'm actually even more thankful nowadays. I think it's just you know, it's just a great community of people for the most part.
I mean, I have to
you know,
admit, I don't feel like, you know, I'm part of the community of artists that I grew up admiring. You know, I don't feel like I'm in the category of, say, John Buscema or you know, Will Eisner, of course, or Harvey Kurtzman or any of those guys. But I do feel like we get to stand on their shoulders and you know, steal what they've done and sort of play around with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just find that, especially amongst artists in particular, there just is a really neat kind of a collegial thing. I'm always kind of happy to meet an artist that I don't know, but you know, whose work I've seen and I admire, and you know, just always a fun thing.
Well, I think, you know, talking art is one of the really great pleasures that I have. You know, talking to other artists about art and what they go through and what they think, and
is that why you
how
teach?
they approach their craft.
Is that why you teach?
that's really, really interesting to me. Very satisfying, I have to say.
Klaus, is that why you teach?
That's certainly part of it. Yeah, absolutely. And the other, there's a couple, and also being in touch with the younger generation. What's on their mind, what are they thinking, and I learned from them, obviously, in terms of that. But also, it allows me to discover new things and try to stay fresh and have new thoughts. I'm like 140 years old at this point, so I'm like having a new thought, is it's wonderful, discovering something that you hadn't really thought about too much. It's really it's an incredibly fantastic career to have, or an occupation. It really is amazing.
And there's a lot more cred to it now than I think there used to be.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that was the sincere me. Now I have to go and bleach my lungs.
We'll wait.
Oh Lord.
Here's a good question from Ben Cully. Who is a living artist you have not met that you would like to?
Oh man, a living artist. Okay. Give me a second here.
That's a tough one.
That is a very tough one because I'm lucky in that I've gotten to meet a lot of people that I admire. There's a couple of them who died recently that I would have loved to have met.
So they don't count anymore.
They don't count anymore. I don't know. Give me a second. Let me think about that one for a minute.
All right. How about Brian? We'll go down the line.
Oh, I'm gonna have just as much of a problem as Cully on this one because there's. Georgie Bernay.
That's a good one.
He's a guy that I'd love to just get in his brain.
Kinky.
Is he still alive?
Yep.
He's from Spain. Is that where he lives?
What about you, Dave?
Paulo Rivera, he's pretty good. Never met him.
You haven't met Paulo Rivera?
No.
He used to be on the circuit quite a bit.
Who haven't I met? I feel like I've met a lot of people.
Yeah, that's kind of what's stumping me is I've met a lot of people.
I mean, I was lucky enough in the past couple of years to become friends with Enrico Marini, and
cool.
he's now a good friend. So that was always nice. I was always a big fan of his stuff.
I think that's one of the cool things about what Klaus says is like this industry is small enough to where you can kind of meet a lot of people that you admired all your life.
Yeah.
And then you meet some that you wish you'd never met.
You know what? I'm not being, I'm not trying to lighten things or anything, but I very few of those people are people that I wish that I hadn't met. I've met a lot of really cool artists.
But boy, when they disappoint you, man, they really disappoint.
True.
Andrew, how about you? Andrew, can you hear us? Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, there you go. Which are you?
Thick, crackly.
Yeah, so we're gonna get you a new microphone. Well, in the meantime, let's ask Brian. There's a question from Jordan asking, how do you approach painting skin tones?
I generally tend to try to think of it as not one color, but a range of colors that go from warm to cool. So I generally like starting off with some of the warmer colors, like what I'm doing now, and then moving towards the cooler colors. And also just the way that I work in general is I don't I very seldom mix colors. I use my colors separate. Like I don't mix up add this color to that color to this color and then put it on the page. I generally kind of almost print do watercolors like I'm a printer, where I kind of go, okay, I need this color. Let me get that color out of my palette and then put that one down, and then let me put the next one down. So every color that I put down tends to be pure. So it gives me the ability to kind of go, rather than putting down a flesh tone, I'm thinking in terms of what is a flesh tone made of. Like this, for example, there's going to be yellows, there's going to be oranges, there's going to be browns, and there's going to be reds, and then there's also going to be blues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly build up to that. Over on this side is going to be some of my warmer tones, but over on this side is going to be some of my cooler tones. So one of the things that, because I'm just about at a point where I need to kind of clean my water out. So what I'm going to do on this is kind of think in terms of, all right, I need some blues over on this side. So rather than trying to mix up a flesh tone that has all those colors in it at once, what I'm going to do is just like kind of put my blues in kind of by themselves and just kind of cover everything over here with blue. So I know that the lightest color over on this side of the face is not going to be a warm color. The lightest color over on this side of the face is going to be that cool blue, even though by the time I'm finished, it's not going to really look like blue. But yeah, I try to think of a flesh tone not as a single color, but kind of decompressing it. That way you can kind of, work with a bunch of colors rather than just one single value. And it tends to be a lot more fun that way too.
Illustrator named Ken Riley, who is really good at mixing colors on faces, on human skin.
Oh yeah. And I also step it darker. Like the first few tones I lay down are the lightest values, and then I'm going to go darker and darker and darker.
That's interesting. And I love watching you paint, Brian. That's one of my favorite things at conventions, is being able to watch you paint there for a bit.
I love doing it at conventions. It's really relaxing, just to kind of have people there and just sort of talk and just kind of chill out and just keep the paint going.
Yeah, here is a good question. What essential advice you wish you knew in the beginning of your career? What's the essential advice you wish you knew in the beginning of your career?
I wish someone had told me that comics wasn't about drawing, it was about storytelling. That would have saved me a lot of headache. Because I think a lot of us get so obsessed with like the fidelity of.
When did you finally decide that it was about storytelling?
What was that, Klaus?
He didn't hear you, Klaus.
He said, when did you decide it was finally about, or when did you finally decide it was about storytelling?
Right.
Pretty deep into it.
Thank
You know, probably my 10th year or so.
Yeah.
How about you, Cully?
I think that like it took me a long time to kind of figure out not to try to fit stylistically into a box, and to just relax and kind of let style happen rather than try for a style or try to live up to a style that other people were doing. Basically, not to think about it so hard and kind of concentrate, like Brian said, on the storytelling rather than the surface or the superficial stuff.
You know, it was Brian mentioned 10 years. It was 10 years before I realized I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was at that point that I realized, boy, I better start figuring this thing out.
I had a like right around the time that the kind of like sort of 90s sort of imploded, and you're wondering if you can continue in this business and everything, and that's kind of where I basically was like, oh shit, I really better learn how to do this. Because there was a feeling that honestly, let's be honest, if you started in the 90s, you got hired basically if you could hold a pencil, and because there was so much work to go around, and then suddenly there wasn't, and it became about, well, who's good, who could do the work. And that was right around, if you if you look at my stuff, like right around the mid 90s, my draftsmanship and my storytelling took a big step up because it had to, if I was going to keep doing this.
I wonder if we all had that moment when we realized, oh, I didn't know what I don't know what I'm doing.
Or you've been getting away with less than,
Huh.
Andrew, you still there? You may want to take a little break.
So, Cully, if you didn't know what you were doing, how was it that you were able to get work? What was that based on?
Honestly, I think it's because there was this sort of craze in the 90s of, no backgrounds and kind of flashy stuff that was about kind of the, about a striking image rather than telling the story. And not that you shouldn't be trying to create a striking image, but I was, to me, like, that's the beginning of learning how to do comics. That's sort of the first stuff you learn is sort of the powerful kind of flashy stuff, and then you start, if you stick with it, then you start learning. It's like learning to play a solo versus learning to play chords and scales. It's a very different proposition.
Eventually, you learn how to draw a bow and arrow, and
right.
Yeah.
Eventually, someday.
Well, I think something that's interesting is until I found out that it's about storytelling, I don't think I had fun doing it.
Yeah. That's
And
interesting.
once I realized it was about storytelling, it actually started to get fun.
When it became a puzzle?
Yeah.
So, Cully, then how did you get better? You just practice more? Did you take classes?
Well, I mean, part of it's just being around people who were way better than I was and just kind of watching and soaking it up. And, I mean, it was a competitive, kind of a challenging environment to try to be a better artist. When you're surrounded by, Dave and Brian and Adam and Jason and, Tony and like all these guys, you just can't help but try to shore up what little you have,
Let's see. Ben is asking, what is the largest format you've ever worked in? Ever do a mural like Adam painting Fry Guys at a McDonald's?
Yes.
Did you do a Fry Guys at McDonald's or?
I mean, no, but I I used to work in a building with a guy that hand painted billboards, and I helped him a few times. That was interesting. When I was in retail, I mean, I used to do all the window displays, like in like paint markers and stuff. So like, I think everybody did that kind of stuff.
I painted the ceiling. This is like a Sistine Chapel situation where I painted the ceiling of this go-kart racing company.
What was on there? What was on this? What is
A bunch of clouds,
clowns?
which is really weird because, like, until then, I never thought of looking up at clouds. They look very different when you look up at them than when you look side on to them. And that was like a terrible, terrible job.
How old were you at that point?
I was in my 20s.
So in the Depression.
It's definitely a lot of work.
We'll try not to look at Klaus's password as he logs on to his iPad.
Shit. Well, I was just going to text you, Jason. And the text is, I'm out of here.
Yeah, let's see the finished piece. Let's see the artwork.
It's just about finished. Not quite. But
Nice, dude.
you like it? Oh, thanks.
Oh, nice.
Got a little bit more to go, but the idea is there. Yeah.
Did you do an ink wash on that?
No, you're talking about the background?
Yeah.
It's just dry brush.
Whoa, interesting.
Yeah. It needs a little bit more, but I think this will satisfy Jason. Because
Klaus says
all we care
I didn't
about,
use
right?
ink wash. I used talent.
Guys, next week I'm going to have a better connection. This connection really stinks. I apologize.
All right, see you, Klaus.
I'll call you.
We'll see you next week, guys. Okay.
I'll call you later.
Jason, I'll talk to you later.
That sounds good. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Be Klaus.
All right.
Is Andrew around?
Andrew. Are you here, Andrew? Can we hear you? He's here. He's painting. I don't know if you can hear us so well.
He got you muted.
No, he's. Maybe he's just having some technical difficulties.
Hey, man, sometimes Andrew drops into the groove.
He's in the zone. Another question from John is, do you guys think there will be a 90s era bottoming out? Or do you think the comics industry will bounce back in a few months?
I hope there's a 90s era bottoming out.
Well, the bottoming out was due to different situation than a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
More of their own bullshit, BS than anything else, right?
I think it's going to be very interesting how this distribution thing plays out. I have no clue about what will actually happen. Just going to be very interesting. I think we will bounce back. I don't know how long that will take.
Hopefully not too long.
I think it's going to take different amounts of time for different parts of the industry to come back. Like how long is it going to take cons to come back as opposed to how long it's going to take shops to reopen, to how long it's going to take publishers to get going. Some DC, for example, they're continuing to do stuff. They're continuing to keep people working. And I think it seems to me that they seem to be looking at it like, here's a chance for all of us to get ahead, schedule-wise. I think they're banking on, things coming back. So we'll see what actually happens, I know that Marvel is taking like a different kind of a tack on things in the sense that they've paused like a percentage of their books, and I know that they've furloughed some editors.
Yeah, that's true. But it seems like they're still planning on having books out.
Yeah.
Do you think Kickstarter will replace Diamond as a distributor in the future? Ask Swing. I don't.
What do you?
I don't think so.
I think for some people it already has.
Yeah, on a smaller scale, I think Kickstarter has its place. But,
Here's the mistake that I think people are making, in that I think that they're looking at this in a very myopic way. I think that the idea of one thing replacing another is not going to happen. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have multiple streams of distribution, and you're already starting to see that happen. It's going to happen whether people want it to or not, if you ask me. And I don't think and I'm not simply talking about the fact that we've got 2 new distributors or whatever. I think you're going to see, much like all other media, you're going to see sort of concurrent streams of delivery and payment. It's like, digital is going to be prominent. Print is going to remain the dominant one, I think. But then you're going to have Kickstarter. You're going to have multiple ways of getting the books to stores and multiple store channels to get it from. I think that we're going to head back into a much more. I mean, I don't think that comics are going to be ever going to be pervasive the way they were up until the 70s. But you're going to have more places to get them. I mean, they're going to stay niche. I mean, everything is niche nowadays. By the way, there's the piece.
oh, cool.
Ah, sweet, man. That was quick.
Very cool.
But I don't know. It's a vexing thing, and obviously, I'm not a retailer, and I'm not someone that is well versed in how comics are sold. So I'm just looking at it as an observer. But I just don't. I don't think it's sustainable to have the single point of failure that we've had. I just don't think it works, and I think everybody knows it. The timing of this is definitely difficult, but I just think that's where we're going.
Mark Chiarello's here. He said,
What?
Gee.
Vexing. Hey, Mark. Here's a good question. What business advice do you have for artists starting out?
Pick another job. It's like the worst time to get into comics, man. Everybody's going to be scrambling for a job.
It's like study computer programming.
Yeah. Become Bill Gates.
That's very helpful.
Well, I'm being honest.
I don't know if you were able to take a look back 20, 30 years to when you first started out, there was that same question. What would you have liked to have known getting started in the business aspect of it?
I'd say just learn your craft and don't be an asshole.
Shit.
I would say save some of that money you made in the 90s.
Yeah, that too.
Don't buy cars and houses.
Don't buy $3,000 stereo systems that get ripped off in the middle of the year.
Oh, I remember that stereo system.
Yeah.
I remember that car.
Or at least don't park it next to Piedmont Park, where all the junkies go. That was a big mistake.
What were you doing there, Dave?
Well, I was living down there.
In the park?
Yeah, right next to the park. It had all the best drugs. What can I say?
Don't hit frozen deer, Dave.
Oh yeah, excuse.
Yeah, I think the wackiest thing is if you're gonna do this, man, you gotta first and foremost make sure you love it.
That was true.
Ain't that the truth?
And there's kind of some of us, and I think most of the guys that are hanging out here, we're kind of lifers. You know, we're sort of screwed because we kind of have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like if you don't love this, you're not going to last. That's just the plain truth. And when I see people who've been doing this for 2 or 3 years and they start to do the, this is really hard and it's not fair and I don't think I can do it and I think I'm going to do something else, then you should go do something else.
Yeah.
Well, has any of that passion faded or waned in the years since you started?
I think it's ebbed and flowed, but I don't think I've ever not had it. Look, there have been times I've been tired of just everything. But, I think that's true of any job you're in, especially if it's a job you love. There are going to be times when you're upset because whenever you love anything, there's going to be a time you're upset that it doesn't love you back or you don't feel like it loves you back. But, you get over it and you keep on doing your thing.
I'm glad you finally got over me not loving you back.
You never stopped loving me.
Yeah, I can't quit you, Cully.
You can't. You really can't.
Let's see. Sydney asks, what shows were you all planning on doing this year? Conventions, but I don't think.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Well, some have obviously been canceled. San Diego's canceled. I was going to do that. I was going to do Heroes. That just got canceled yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm scheduled to do Terrificon and Baltimore and have a con in Utrecht that I'm supposed to go to. I'm curious to see if any of them will actually still come off. I have no idea. And I'm not sure, to be honest, that I want to be on a plane at any point this year. I got to be honest.
Of being in Atlanta and being almost anywhere else.
Say that again, Brian. Sorry.
I said, given the choice of being in Atlanta or being almost anywhere else in the world, Europe is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. I think you should start rowing now.
Let's see. Tom Romano says to Brian, I listened to the Black, White, Gray podcast. What other type of art sparks your creative imagination?
Other type of art, what?
Spark creative imagination. What other type of art?
Everything.
Imagination.
Yeah, everything that gets me jazzed, man. Watching movies, sculpture, music. In fact, most of the big conversations that Cully and I get into are conversations where we're talking about comics and art, but almost all the terms we're using is music.
What type of music do you like to listen to while you're drawing or painting? Is there something specific?
Depends on what I'm doing.
On your mood?
Most of the times it's just sort of classical stuff, but I'll get into some craft work.
Hey, Brian, Do you remember like back in in the days when we used to have to make FedEx and like there were times like when several of us had to make FedEx that day and we were not sure we were going to make it, and the FedEx deadline was at 9, and we would put on something like super fast and aggressive just so that we would be super fast and aggressive while we were working.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, do you remember this?
We're putting on some like Chemical Brothers and Propeller Head.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah. Oh, it did.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times one of us would leave the studio at, and the FedEx office is like 10 minutes away, and we're leaving at 8:53, and the doors at the FedEx office close at 9, and we're like, can we make it? I don't know, but we're gonna try, and I swear I don't know how I never got a ticket.
Yeah. Well, there were several occasions where I'd go, okay, Cully, I got to paint this last bit. Can you drive me to FedEx while I'm painting?
Yeah, it's true. He'd be in the car finishing up a painting. And we'd get there, and I'm like putting the, like trying to get the box together and everything.
Oh,
I remember Dave and I used to like add little extra drawings in the package sometimes of ourselves for various editors. Little cartoon versions of ourselves, like just making FedEx, like just as an extra thing.
Even though the editors probably never got it, it was more the mail guys that got it.
Yeah, we didn't realize that at the time, that there was a mail room and that they opened the packages.
There's some mail guy that's just flushed with art. I had a FedEx package that I did actually get used for a cover.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was one of those Dave Campitti companies, like I think Allegiant or something like that.
Oh, what was the name of that company?
Kamiko? No. Didn't it start with a C?
Yeah.
No. It was Innovation.
Innovation.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Jason's first company that he worked for, was Innovation.
But did you know they were going to use it as a cover, or did they just use it as a cover?
He actually called up and said, "Hey, man, we need a cover, and I got this FedEx package. You want to get paid for it?"
Oh, all right.
By the way, Dave has a Kickstarter going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
You go there. It's called Pop Kill. Him and Jimmy Palmiotti. I'm trying to put a link up right now. I just added it to the comment section so you can click on it. So check that out. Sorry to interrupt.
Like, speaking of Kickstarters.
Yeah, somebody had asked about a Kickstarter. Are you all locked into contracts, or could you do a Kickstarter if you wanted to or needed to? Do any of you have a passion project that you create, write, and illustrate?
Well, if you have a contract, I don't think you would be able to do a Kickstarter.
I mean, some guys have that carved out of their contracts that they can do some creator-owned stuff once every so often.
Yeah. Well, I think it also depends on if it's in competition with, what a company's doing.
Right. It's usually like non-superhero or something.
Yeah.
Mr. Kennedy is here. He said to say hello to everybody.
Nice.
Hey.
It's the Kennedy.
All right. Thanks, John, for backing Opkill. Go check it out.
Nice.
Eric says he hopes everyone's having a good weekend. Wonderful weekend.
Excellent.
Excellent, Smithers.
Hey, Cully, what are you working on now?
You mean like work-wise?
No, the piece.
I'm not. I finished my Captain Marvel, so I'm just watching you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Got some reference up on my screen. Whoa. Sweet.
Why is my camera backwards? I don't understand how to unreverse my camera.
Backwards.
Yeah, the image you're looking at is reversed.
Yeah, I think we're all like that.
Actually pointing to the left.
Are they?
Yeah. I think there's a setting though where you can actually change that.
For sure.
But Luddite that I am, I have not figured that out. Brian, you look like you're painting a picture of me at age 10.
What do you want to eat?
No, it actually looks like you at 11.
Nice. Dave for the win.
Good one, Dave.
Robert has a question. Have you ever snuck any people into crowd scenes, and who? Asking for a friend.
You do that all the time.
In fact, if you've got a copy of Nightwing #1, where his the miniseries where he changed his costume, Nightwing is on the building holding Dave.
Is he really? Find that.
If you look in Dave's Super Patriot miniseries that he did back in the day, there's a scene set in Stinky's Diner, and I am Stinky. And I have that page, actually. There was one scene that Jason Pearson did in Vanguard where Dave and I were guards that got killed. Back when I did Red, actually, there's a scene in the second issue where Paul Moses murders 2 policemen, and I actually drew 2 cop friends of mine, of ours, as the cops that got killed horribly in that scene.
Was that Bazemore?
Bazemore and McCracken. Yeah, Bazemore. I think Bazemore got an arrow through the head.
What was McCracken's first name? Phil?
It was not Phil. We called him Crime Fighter McCracken.
Yeah. Which is weird because we were all kind of hanging out in the studio, and this cop just walks in, just full uniform and everything, and we're like, "What have we done?" And he's like, "Is this the Gaijin Studios that does comics?" That was really cool.
Yeah, and I swear to God, he would come by. It was like for a few years. He'd just come by every couple of weeks and just, "Hey, what are you guys working on?" And there was another guy that did the same thing, Officer Bazemore.
Yeah.
Bob Bazemore is his name. And both those guys were, comics fans. And, I mean, it wasn't every couple of weeks, but I mean, every few weeks we'd see them, and they'd come by, and every now and then, we'd say, "Hey, can you pose for this?" Or I remember, didn't McCracken's wife, who was also an officer, didn't she pose for some stuff for you, Brian?
Yeah, and she was like an amateur bodybuilder as well.
Yeah, she was built.
It's kind of cool because Bazemore would kind of come in and I go, "Hey man, let me see your sig," kind of, sort of unstrap, clear it, and go, "Yeah, here you go."
So just handed you over a loaded gun?
Oh no, he would clear it and make sure it was empty.
There was a pretty substantial period there where Doug Wagner was in pretty much every comic I drew.
Yeah.
He'd be in there somewhere.
The coolest thing is Bazemore would do sort of crime scenarios. So they had this warehouse where they'd have kind of bad guys in there, and the new officers would come in to train, and he invited us to be bad guys, and we would just kind of the job would be to go in and hassle new officers and give them a hard time.
Man, I don't think I was around for that. That sounds cool.
Well, we never pulled it together. It was
Oh,
okay. As soon as the next one happens, I'll get you guys, and it just never ended up happening. But I was just like, man, that would have been too cool.
One of my favorite things that I ended up in was there was a Punisher cover that you did, Brian, that had Sean Tibor was the Punisher. And I was one of the people that he was about to kill, and I had like a grenade strapped in my mouth, taped in my mouth. And I remember posing for that.
Jason Pearson.
Yeah, me and Jay were like the guys about to die.
So you just used your own photos with ball gags, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
From when we were roommates.
Yeah.
I made it on a cover once, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to find the image now. Decisions. Remember the book DC did called Decisions back when Obama was running?
Yeah.
Who did it?
Stefan Roux.
Oh, really?
Cool. Nice.
Stefan Roux.
That's when the Zydeco music starts up when Dave says that.
Wayne. Wait, I'm going to show you Wayne. Let me find it. It's amazing.
And Stefan, that's another guy that's just way too good.
Yeah.
He is good.
Speaking of visitors to Gaijin, you guys remember that assistant that we had for one day, and then he just kept coming back, and eventually leading up to him and Tony almost fighting?
No, who's that?
I can't remember his name, but he brought a buddy and as backup muscle, and I was Tony's backup muscle.
Whoa.
And me and the backup muscle, we kind of stood aside and just said, why are we here? We were kind of laughing at these two guys, fronting at each other. And turns out that was the backup muscle was Andrew Cosby, who wrote that last Hellboy movie.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
You know what? I was wondering how I knew Andrew Cosby, because I know him. I mean, we've met obviously, and he worked at Malibu for a while.
Yeah, that was it.
That was, yeah. Come to think of it, yeah, that's how I met him.
Yep.
I sort of remember this.
But what situation that you're in where Dave is your backup muscle?
Hey, I didn't realize I was a backup muscle till I was outside, and I realized, oh shit, I'm the backup muscle guy.
Was this was Studio One, right?
Oh god, I can't.
One or two? It must have been one or two.
It was the one closest to where the church was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's one.
That annoying church.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was.
Oh no, that was two. That was the one next door to the church. Yeah, that was the second
That was
scene.
good.
Oh my god! I mean, to people listening, you have to understand that we were in like a warehouse space, and it was in a strip of warehouse spaces, and right next to us was like a Haitian church, and they, you come in and work on a Sunday because we're heathens and we work on Sunday, and you're in there trying to draw whatever you need to draw, and there is a church next door with these paper thin walls, and they have a loudspeaker. They've got like a PA.
Oh, they got that thing from Led Zeppelin,
or something. Yeah, and they're like singing and like I don't know what you would call it. It's like they're just super loud.
They were full on churching.
Yeah, and they're spilling out into the alleyway behind the studio, and just all, and the kids next door were constantly pushing the door open, which would set the doorbell off. And I mean, it drove us nuts.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah. I was so glad when they finally, I don't know if they got kicked out or they had to move or what, but I was very happy that
They
Did we?
didn't have zoning for.
Oh, right. Because you have to understand, we were at that studio all hours of the day and night, every day of the week.
Yeah, there was no off time. It was always going.
Yeah.
You guys
Dave would stay and build explosives at night.
Yeah.
Dave, you have a question from Alex asking, do you ever get the itch to do interior art?
Occasionally, but luckily there's ointments for that.
There's a vaccine for that?
Yeah.
Derek is asking, if you guys were stuck on an island with only one book of an artist's work, any genre, time period, or medium, who would that artist be?
Oh, Christ. One book?
One.
I don't know if I like that question. Next.
Yeah. I don't think that.
I would basically have Mark Chiarello's Ludwig Holdween book.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chi has one of the really nice Ludwig Holdween books.
Oh, I've got that one. Yeah.
I don't think
that thing was not cheap.
No.
What's it called? Ludwig?
Yeah.
Ludwig Holdween.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Okay.
I don't know, man. I don't know what book I would keep.
Yeah, the nice thing about Ludwig is that book is as good as you get. Like once you know more, there's more in the book for you.
Stream looks pretty active.
Yeah, there's people asking and
Yeah.
hanging out. If you put in Ludwig Chiarello, there's a good kind of Google.
Someone's asking about commissioning Brian. How can I go about commissioning Brian outside of a convention? I would say that since there are no conventions right now, that's the only way you can commission him.
I was going to ask Robert if I can share his email, but I didn't get a chance to get in touch with him, so I don't want to.
Oh no, the best thing to do is to PM Robert through like Facebook
or Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, Robert Jewell. So if you go to Brian's Facebook page, his fan page, you can contact him through there. Let me find a link to pop up.
Or you could probably DM him through Twitter too, right?
I found that book.
Yeah. Dave, you have that book?
Yep.
I curse you.
Well, look at that.
Amazing.
Hold on, let me see that. Oh, dude.
Good Lord.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, it's just jam-packed with everything.
Wow. Yeah.
They need to do a Herbert Paz book, but nobody's done it yet.
I don't even want to know how much that cost, that book.
It wasn't cheap, but
it is not.
Here's my Desert Island book right here. The Biologic Show by Al Columbia.
Wow.
I've never had a comic book artist creep me out more, but in a delicious way. I mean, this stuff is amazing. And you can't find these for anything other like $300 now.
Wow.
Small comic books that Fantagraphics put out. But this guy's literally insane. He's got real mental problems.
I remember his work. I mean, I remember, his sort of like it's like Sienkiewicz-ish stuff. From
yeah.
His early stuff.
What guy is this?
How good he is.
Al Columbia.
Oh my God!
You remember Al Columbia, right?
Yeah, if you have some extra money, track down the Biologic Show books.
All right.
You will not be disappointed. They're just crazy cool.
Yeah, that guy was fantastic.
I mean, he still is, but he just doesn't do a lot of work now. I think he's like rich or something. 'Cause I don't see anybody can live off doing nothing.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where you kind of go, he's a genius, but at what cost?
Very nice, Brian.
What's that?
I said I just saw that the piece you're doing close up.
Brian, who runs your Instagram page? We're getting a question from Jordan.
Kevin from 12 Gauge.
All right.
It's Keven.
And Alex is asking, what's everyone's favorite artist editions? Alex, do you mean like the IDW ones? I'm assuming he's meaning those. Do you guys collect any of those artist edition books?
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
The Mazzucchelli Daredevil one is one of my favorites, as is the
that's
Simonson
fantastic.
Thor one.
Yep. I got those as well.
Yeah, I love those.
I can't wait for the Micronauts one.
The Micronauts.
Oh man,
I got the Watchmen one a few years ago in San Diego.
yeah, I have that one too.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's pretty rad.
Did you get the Joe Kubert Tarzan one?
I didn't get that one, but that looked pretty good.
That's pretty nice.
I
haven't gotten. Isn't there a Byrne one? I haven't.
There's a Byrne X-Men one.
Yeah, I haven't got that
Really?
one.
The X-Men stuff that he did, that's definitely some stuff I'd love to see in black and white.
My favorite Byrne stuff might be this Captain America stuff.
Captain America.
Yeah, he did a short run with Roger Stern and Joe Rubenstein on Captain America that I have always loved. That might be one of my favorite Captain America runs.
Problem is, these books are just gigantic. You run out of space.
I know. I had to I've got a shelf where basically I just had to start taking shelves out of it so that I could have shelves to fit those books on.
Yeah, I kind of want to display them, but
the Hellboy one is pretty cool too.
that one I didn't get. Frank Cho gave me his Wolverine one in Baltimore last year, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Here's a good question from Dylan. Do you think these types of streams with multiple artists will become more common in a post-COVID-19 world, or would it just go back to being a hermit?
I hope it does. I hope
it does too. I mean, in a weird way, this is like, we can't have cons right now, so this is it, and I think that this is a good way. This is a good compromise for us to have a little bit more of a direct connection with people who appreciate what we do and want to interact with us and watch us draw and ask questions. It's kind of like a mix between a convention and a panel.
Yeah.
It's like a quiet artist alley.
A cleaner version.
Yeah.
It's not sneaking up the place.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it because it is kind of. I mean, it actually has a feel of being in the studio where a bunch of us would just kind of hang out, draw,
sure,
just throw conversation into the air.
Except I can't hit Dave with rubber bands.
Yeah.
No hacky sack.
No hacky sack. That's right.
Hey, Brian, the book that you recommended, someone's asking for a link. What was it called? I could take a look. and post it.
The book, you mean the?
A little while ago, there was a book that you recommended.
The Ludwig
Yeah.
Holstein?
Yeah. What was that? What was it called again?
Ludwig Holdween. That's not a book I'd recommend to learn anything. That's Ludwig Holdween is that's Black Diamond Slopes. That's not for the faint of heart.
Is there a title to that book?
No, just Ludwig Holden. I mean, it's out of print. I mean, it's like an old book. So,
But it's an awesome book.
I don't think you'd be able to find it on Amazon or anything. Maybe eBay, but you'd be lucky to find it on eBay.
Yeah, that's one of those books where you'd have to check in with Stuart or Stuart Ing. Or is Brad Badabumcore still doing that stuff?
The what?
Brad, the guy who used to do bud plant books.
Oh God, I don't know.
Huh.
I think I had his name just eBay searched on my, like anytime his name would pop up, it would, let's see what it was. That's how I found it.
Hey Dave, how's that piece turning out?
I'm fucking it up.
No, you're not, man.
Let's see. Jordan is asking a question about, let's see, where was that? Where did you go, Jordan? What's the best ways to improve your skill as a beginner or intermediate artist? Is there something that you would recommend?
Trace a better artist.
I think just doing it, just drawing a lot, just every opportunity you get to draw, just do it. I think that's the chief thing. And
Well, yeah, you want to do it the right way.
Yeah, kind of track down some knowledge, try to get a hold of people that you think know what they're doing. Look at like internet stuff, do whatever is possible. But I think the foundation of it, especially if you want to be a comic book artist, you've got to draw more than any other artist there is. You just got to draw all the time. And all of us, that's just what we did before we started doing comics, is that we drew a lot. And when you get a job doing comics, well, guess what? You have to draw a lot. So if you're just drawing 2 or 3 drawings a week, don't do comics. Try to find something else. I think only if you have the ability to just draw nonstop, to get a job doing this stuff.
I always laughed at guys that, well, secretly laughed, not in their face, but guys that would ask for advice at a con, and you'd give them like a harsh critique, and you'd go through everything that he did wrong, and then you'd see them the next year, and they did only the same pages, but they changed all the thing. But I'm like, you only drew 5 pages in a year, like you have to do it all the time, So,
yeah. You realize those 5 pages is a week's worth of work.
Yeah.
You guys still paint for fun, just for your own sanity, to be creative and just for fun? Is that a thing anymore for you?
That's the weird thing is like, I mean, every once in a while, but for the most part, I mean, I got a job that allows me to do for work what I would normally do for the fun of it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm taking time off from drawing, I don't want to do more drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to play, Xbox or, I don't know, go out for a drive.
So Christoph found Amazon has some of Ludwig's books for sale.
Books?
Yep. This one's
Really?
$330.
Yeah.
But there's some less expensive ones. This one's, well, $280, $240. They're pretty expensive. Yeah, but it's from 1926. So
yeah, that's the one.
That's pretty rad.
Good find.
You got to hope that it's in good shape.
Yeah, mine's not in the best shape, but all the pages are there, so.
Yeah, unavailable. Oh, interesting.
Well, now you got me wanting to look up Biologic Show.
Nope. Cully's gone multi-camera. Here is a good question. For each of you, what is your most prized piece of original art?
Prized piece of what?
Original art. I guess assuming if you collect or trade with other guys or
That I have or that I want?
that you have, that you own.
I've got the cover to Challengers of the Unknown #1 from John Paul Leon.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he worked on that.
Yeah, they relaunched the series and he was the main artist on it. And cover #1 is, this cover just blew my mind. I mean, it was just insane. It's the most different cover that you can imagine because it's a #1 cover, but he did the backs of the characters. So you're seeing the characters from behind and they're looking into this light, but it's just like one of the greatest just compositional pieces. And I saw him at a show and we got along really well and like, he had that piece just in his book, and I was just like, dude, I have to have that.
I'd show you mine, but it'd probably get the broadcast kicked off.
So did you just buy it or did you trade for it?
I traded for it. It's Robert McGinnis.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me?
Nope.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can do it in a way that won't get us kicked off.
Just put some post-it notes over the naughty bits. Ben had a question as, what is the strangest commission request you've ever had?
Breakfast.
All right. Hey, Jason, put it on somebody's camera real quick.
Okay, hold on.
Full screen. There you go. All right, hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Don't turn it on yet. Let's do this. All right.
You ready? We can go.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Very nice.
I mean, you can't see the bottom part. It's in shadow, so.
And that's the original.
Yeah.
Wow.
What did he use? What medium does he use?
Egg tempura.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That is so nice.
The story of how I got it's even funnier, but I'm not going to say it here.
Oh, that's a win, man. That's a total win.
Beautiful.
So what's the strangest request you've ever had, Cully? We'll start with you.
Early on, I had a guy come up to me in San Diego and asked me to draw breakfast.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Dude, like, just I'm like, you want me to draw like what kind of breakfast do you want? And he goes, just whatever you had. And I'm like, all right. And he, he paid me like $30, and I drew him the breakfast that I had that day.
What was it, by the way?
I have I don't remember.
Here's one that's gonna piss Brian off.
Uh-oh. Let's see. What is that one?
Oh man.
What? No.
Wow.
And this camera does not do it justice. It's so much brighter and richer than the camera's showing.
Oh, dude, that is so awesome.
Are these hanging on your wall, Dave, or just have them?
I've got them in a file. I can't put everything up. So. And speaking of Ken Riley, I actually had this out, but I got plastic over it, so it's hard to see the.
Oh man,
it's
hard. That red,
dude.
Wait, let me.
Dude, you got some sweet pieces, man.
Nah, it's so hard to. I wish you could zoom in on the skin tones on these dudes, but.
Is that a gouache? Is that a gouache piece?
I could be. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But wow. Damn.
Yeah.
And he's not a big name, so not hard to find, or at least not hard. You don't have to pay a lot.
There are a lot of illustrators from that era that are just kind of basically no names that were brilliant.
Yeah, for a while there, you could pick up some Mitchell Hooks for nothing, But then he was discovered.
Yeah, I noticed the weird commission requests really don't happen too often anymore.
You know what?
Well, the internet kind of ruined that.
But as far as weird commission requests, I think Dr. Riley has my top 5.
Oh yeah,
all by himself.
All by himself. I think he has
what,
all 5 of my top 5 commission
dogs.
Starting with the strangest, it's going to be the kidney lady from Howard the Duck.
That's a deep cut.
Oh yeah, that is a seriously deep cut right there. But the kidney lady, he's also in there for his dog, which is a bit of a strange request. And there's a piece that I'm working on now for him, which is Secretariat, Big Red, the horse.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got them all.
Hey guys, here's another one. It's Noel Sickles.
Oh, I love Noel Sickles.
Dude.
Oh man. Holy crap.
But look at some of the detail that.
Oh, geez, Dave.
Look how clean this paper is.
I mean, even just the kind of ripples in the paper. It's just.
Yeah, the greeting that he's doing on that paper, man, that is solid.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing was just, oh my god.
Can you will that to me?
Dr. Bong, that's right. Robert popped in. Dr. Bong is his other character that he likes.
Whew. Have you ever done a sketch where someone asked for something and you went and you made it weird? Like you went far afield from what they asked for? Like for example, this guy asked me for a naughty nurse one time.
Ooh.
And I think I made it a lot naughtier than he bargained for.
I see you're a naughty nurse, and I rate you.
Have you ever done anything like that where you gave somebody, somebody asked for 100%, you gave them 150%?
Yeah, I think there's one piece that I did, which I'm actually quite proud of, where someone asked for Dr. Girlfriend, and I did Dr. Girlfriend from behind, but at a urinal.
seem to remember that you did like a Dr. Girlfriend with a really prominent Adam's apple at one point.
Yeah.
Wait, so Cully, what was the guy's reaction when you handed it to him?
Oh, he was red-faced. I mean, he liked it, but it was just not what he was expecting. It was at Baltimore one year. I don't know that I should go into what I actually did, but it was like.
I remember.
Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
And he was laughing, but he was obviously embarrassed.
Didn't want full credit.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I don't know who the artist is because he didn't sign it, but the father sitting on the couch is so well done.
I just love like the magazine illustrations of this era. This is like some of my favorite art ever.
Yeah.
Actually,
It's just so, it's so representational. What?
It looks like it's from that Whitmore Whitcomb studio.
Yeah. Just it's just wash. I mean, it's like.
It's just super confident.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's one. The artist actually was going to go away, but I took it.
Oh, nice. That's hey, he'll be something someday.
Oh, dude, I remember that.
Yeah, you were just going to toss in the trash. I was like, well, fuck that shit. Yeah, sorry.
How much money is in the swear jar now?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Cooper was barking. I was trying to stay muted.
Does Cooper have a question?
Yes, he wants to know where his food is. Or who's at the door.
Well, speaking of that, I finished my thing, so I gotta go grab some food myself.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't eat breakfast. So
Yeah, we've been at this for 2 hours, 20 minutes, so we probably should maybe think about wrapping it up.
yeah. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
See you, Dave.
It's been emotional.
Let's see. There's a question. How often do customers reject commissions, i.e. not happy with the result?
It's actually incredibly rare.
Yeah. It's occasionally it happens. I think New York a few years ago, someone rejected one of Klaus's commissions. It was a beautiful Batman piece, but he was upset that Klaus didn't use like a ruler or something on the belt. Something like really weird.
That's somebody who's not going to be happy with much of anything.
Yeah, it rarely happens. Occasionally it does, but
yeah,
we try to manage expectations of what to expect.
Doesn't happen very often though.
Not too often, but it's a little uncomfortable when it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an occasion where I was in the middle of a commission and I stopped doing it.
Why?
Because the guy commissioned me to do, and I guess her name is Rocket from
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gadget, I think, from the Rescuers Down Under.
Okay.
And I was working on the piece, and the character's kind of cool looking, so I was having fun with it. And I realized that the guy was just breathing way too hard while I was working on the piece.
Was he just standing over your shoulder?
Yeah, and breathing. And then he kind of said, "Hey, can you do her naked?" And I was just like, "Okay, we're done here. We are done. This commission is over."
We used to get more of those types of requests. This person naked, that person naked.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't ever get that anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would take that commission now.
No.
I mean, back in the when I was in my 20s, I just wanted the money. So it's like, sure, okay, I'll draw whatever you want.
Right.
But after a while, you start to realize the creepiness of it, and you're kind of like, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah.
I think if I could do it, if I can make it awesome, I'll do it.
I'll tell you what I ran across the other day. Somebody posted the penthouse story that I did.
Oh, nice.
And for one thing, it's terrible. I mean, it's truly bad. It's just not good work for me. And compounding it was the fact that the colors were not great either. But just wasn't very good work. But one of my favorite stories actually about that stuff. Speaking of doing nudity and all, because this is a sex comic, and I was not particularly comfortable doing just the story, and it took me a long time to do it because it was just difficult for me to get in the mindset of doing porn comics, But I did it because obviously the everybody knows this. The rates that Penthouse was paying were really good.
Yeah.
Like probably 3 times what I was making at any other company, including DC or Marvel at the time. So I remember one day I was in my office at the studio, the phone rings and I pick it up and it's my mom. And she's just checking in, seeing how I'm doing. And she's like, "So what are you working on?" And I said, "I'm doing Penthouse comics." And she's like, "Well, what's that?" And I was like, Penthouse. And she's like, what? She's like, "What is that? What does that mean?" Like Penthouse, like the magazine, Penthouse magazine. She's like, "Penthouse, like the girly mag?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "You're doing porn comics?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, Cully, oh my God, are you serious? That's awful. I can't believe you would do that." And she just goes on for 5 minutes about how she's disappointed in me and how horrible it is and just all this. And finally she says, "Well, how much are they paying you anyway?" And I told her, and she's like, "Oh, well, you couldn't turn that down. I mean, you had to do that." And it just put me in the mindset of I wonder how many sort of actors and actresses have had this same conversation with their parents. When it comes to a nude scene or something like that. "I can't believe you do a nude scene. How much are they paying you?" "Oh, well, I mean, just once, right? I mean, just this one time."
In that case.
Yeah.
Bravo.
I haven't seen those originals. What happened to all that original art?
I must have sold them all. I might have 1 or 2 of them somewhere. I've got boxes of stuff.
So if you're looking for some Cully Penthouse.
It's awful stuff. I mean, it's just terrible. But I remember there was a period there where we were all working for Penthouse.
Actually, I'm disappointed because I was doing something else, but I couldn't wait to start working for Penthouse.
Yeah. What's funny about that is even Steam was doing a little bit of work for Penthouse.
Oh yeah. But then
and you didn't.
Yeah, then the publisher had a fall.
So so to speak. You guys know that story, right? Or Jason, you know that story, right?
No.
It's a guy named George Carragon, who was the editor of Penthouse Comics, and it was kind of his baby. And basically, George was like this sort of big, heavy, sweaty, exuberant guy, and was the kind of guy that would just order 5 pork chops or just had big appetites, and he was just a big personality. And but he loved all of us. He just thought we were just amazing, and came down to Atlanta at one point, took us all out to a steakhouse, and we all lived it up and had this huge meal, and it was
the first time I've ever heard a person order a round of lobsters.
Yeah, that was just for the table, a round of lobsters for the whole table. And we were just and he was just whatever you guys want, we'll pay you this much money and just whatever you want to do. And we were just at the time, I think we wanted to buy a building for the studio, just to own the building so we wouldn't have to pay rent anymore.
Yeah,
so that was our
to flat out buy it.
Yeah, he was just how much would that be? And then I'll, well, how about we do this job and that will be the money I pay the studio to do that job will be enough to buy a building. And so basically, what it turned out was that George was doing a lot of things out of that office. And I mean, I'm not sure of the veracity of all of it, but the rumors were that he was running cocaine out of the office, using FedEx, by the way. Basically, he got caught doing that and embezzling money, or at least that was the story. And I remember, he'd lost his job and he was gonna, there was gonna be, court case and like all this stuff. And I remember he called the studio one day.
Oh, that was at night. That was like at midnight.
It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like it might have been. Yeah, it might have been that late. But he basically called and we passed the phone around to each of us. He wanted to talk to each of us individually, and he got to me, and I mean, I don't know what he said to everybody else, but what he said to me was, he's like, I think the world of you, and you're a great person, and you're super talented, and you're going to go far, and I just want you to know that these things that they're saying about me are not true, and they're scurrilous accusations, and he said, everyone's going to know the truth soon, or words to those effect. Or you'll hear from me again very soon. That's what he said. You'll hear from me again very soon. And I was like, well, thanks, George, and we'll talk again soon. And went around and talked to everybody. Probably said something similar to you, Brian. And
oh yeah.
so the very next day, we got word that he had gone to the top of the Marriott Marquis in Times Square in New York. Which, I mean, Jason, you've been in there, so it's like this atrium, this tall atrium building, and he basically rode the elevator to the top, got off, and he basically jumped and took the elevator out on the way down.
Oof.
And yeah, so that was the end of George Carragon, basically.
Yeah, we used to go there every year to that hotel for some sort of work-related thing.
Yeah, I think I saw a show there because they've got like a theater in there too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was always the scary part when we go up there. I'd like stay away from the side.
Yeah. So apparently, as I understand it, he had headphones on and he was listening to James Bond themes. And he went up to the top and then climbed over the ledge. And I guess a housekeeper or somebody saw him and tried to stop him. And he just took off. So very sad end of the guy. But I mean, while he was around, he was quite the character and a lot of fun to hang out with. I remember going to New York for a Greenberg show that got canceled because there was a blizzard. So I was just sort of up there, and I was kind of left, with a room that I was paying for and all that stuff. And George paid for my room basically and made sure I didn't have to pay for a meal while I was up there. And I hung out in the penthouse offices for a while, and he was having his office soundproofed while I was there. I don't know why. You're welcome, Ben. Ben was very happy at that story.
Yeah. Do you have something better a little more uplifting than?
Hey, man, I'm just telling true stories of the comics industry. It's not all fuzzy.
Anything more uplifting than the flight of George?
I can tell you about when Dave used to make fireworks in the studio.
Oh, dude.
He surprised him blow himself up.
Dave used to go and buy fireworks at the state line, and he'd come back and he would spend all this time like cutting into them and like emptying them out and then finding other containers to like sort of combine all the powder and the chemicals into bigger containers. And he basically was making bombs out behind the studio. Yeah, and then we'd be there. Yeah, we'd be there at 3 a.m. and he'd set them off, and we would all be behind pieces of plywood, like to try to protect ourselves because we're idiots. And he would just set these things off, and they were sometimes like he would put them in these little. He'd put like powder and stuff, and they'd be in like these little glass vials, right? Which was, I mean, I don't know what we were thinking, but that's what he used to do. And I remember he made one so powerful at one point that like I was behind a piece of plywood and it actually bowed in when it went off. Like I actually felt it just kind of like it was really bizarre. And I seem to remember stuff got embedded in the plywood too.
Is the original Joe Exotic? Is it Dave
Yeah,
Exotic?
pretty much. We used to do all sorts of stupid stuff like 3 a.m. out behind that studio.
Yeah, that was not good.
Fun times though.
Oh yeah, fun as hell, but not good.
George ruined Adam's art by spilling soda or coffee all over it. George Carragon did this.
I mean, that sounds like something George would have done, but
Yeah, well, I don't remember that. Wow. But that's hilarious.
Here's a good question. Who is a comic artist you met that you thought would be cool, but what? Oh wait, no, that's not that one. That's not a good one. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm not going to tell you who I've ever thought was a jerk. I don't, that's just not the kind of thing that.
Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Are there any of your peers that you look at their work and go, how do they do that? For me, always amazed me was Travis Chare's work.
I felt that way about pretty much everybody in the studio at one point or another.
yeah, and
How
I
did
gotta
they do
tell you,
that?
man, Travis. I remember meeting Travis at the DC Comics offices for the first time, and I mean, this dude is just like he was just a kid, at the time, and I was, kind of the old guy, and Travis was like incredibly respectful, really cool, and I watched him draw a piece, and what he did was he started with the eyes, and just finished the eyes and just kept on drawing more and more and more. And it was not like he was drawing it, but it was like it was already on the paper and he was erasing around it. And it was just the worst way that you can draw. But what he came up with was like amazing, because I was just watching him and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is not going to work out. This is going to be a total failure. But he just pulled it off. It was just really amazing.
How often, Brian, have you been watching somebody work and had that thought that, oh, this is not going to work out, and then they pull a finishing move and it completely works out?
Dude, that is my entire experience with Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
It's like and that's one of the reasons why I love watching him work so much, because he's so different from the way that I work.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Bill, are you guys going to contribute any of those sketches that people have been doing online?
Yeah, Brian, are you aware of this?
No, what's that?
Okay, let me set the stage here a little bit. So on Facebook, about a week ago, Bill posted one of his self-posed reference photos. Are you looking at it, Brian?
Hold on, let me check this out. Wow.
And of course, you see that the Phantom Zone villains are covering his naughty bits.
Now, when Bill posted it, that was there, right?
Yes. Well, the Phantom Zone villains weren't, but the square was.
Okay.
So this has started a movement on Facebook of people doing their own artistic interpretations of that, using that photo.
Oh, dude.
And posting them. And some of them are great. Some of them are hilarious. And that's what he's talking about when he says Bill's butt challenge. And I just haven't gotten around to it because I've had a busy week. But I wouldn't mind. I think it'd be hilarious. But the stuff that everybody's done has been so. I don't know what else I could contribute to it.
Man, you should have
pretty funny.
Before, man. I would have done that as my piece.
Yeah.
the Bill butt challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm in on that, man. I am
Yeah.
totally in on that. I mean, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll send you the photo. But there have been some pretty amazing pieces that people have done. And I don't think Bill was expecting that when he posted a picture of his ass.
that is some pure Billness right there, man.
Hey, but you know what? Dude's in shape. Got to give it to him.
Yeah.
Being that kind of shape at his age is pretty impressive.
Being in that kind of shape at any age now is impressive.
This is true. This is true.
All right. Well, actually, I'm just about to bring this in for a landing. I think I'm going to sort of cool down or heat up the opposite side of this just a little bit. But I'm actually kind of surprised that I was able to do the whole thing while we're on here.
How long does it normally take you to do a portrait?
It just depends. I mean, sometimes if it's something that like this, which I kind of consider fairly simple, I generally can pull it off in a couple of hours.
Well, that's what you did.
Oh, what time is it?
It's about 2:30, 2:39.
Nice.
Well, where you are, it's 3:39.
We've been on for about 2.5 hours.
About 2.5 hours is how long we've been on, yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I love it.
There she goes.
Beauty.
Very cool.
I didn't even notice the blood coming out of the nose.
Yeah, I didn't notice that till now either.
Dude. Well, guys, this is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, this is cool.
Thanks for stopping in and hanging out with us. Hopefully you'll have time to do it again in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Just let me know if you've got like an extra seat available.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of a lazy hermit. I generally tend to hang out in my sort of little hobbit hole and not talk to people. So yeah, if you got anything going on, let me know, man. This has
basically been my Saturday for the last several weeks. So it's
really that's cool. Oh man, and definitely shout out to all the folks that kind of stopped by. Riley, sort of all the and there he is.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks for hanging out, people.
We will hopefully see you in the next few days, if not next week. Check out Brian's Facebook page. I'm going to put a quick link up here so you can go check out his Instagram and Facebook. Dave Janson has his Kickstarter going called what was it? Pop Kill. And we will see you guys hopefully next few days. Thanks so much for coming by. Take care.
Bye.
Totally cool. Good hanging out with you.